Hey, it's Heidi with another video for you. I went because I really think that this video is going to be tasty. Sometimes you hear advice and, everybody's feeding you all this different kind of advice. And sometimes, you taste it and you chew on it and you're like, you spit it out immediately because you know that's not the advice for you. Other times you take advice and you chew on it, and you kind of and you like marinate on it and then you swallow it or spit it out depending upon whether or not you really line up with it. And then there's some advice that you get that's actually pretty tasty. And so when you get it, you're like, and you just eat it as it's coming in because this is the thing that you've been waiting to hear. So I think today might be one of those days for you where I might actually offer you something today that you're going to go, And it's going to be in the form of this video. First of all, today is for people who are on the fence about their relationship. They're really trying to figure it out. And so I'm going to give you 5 surefire signs that you need to pull the trigger and end the relationship. So 5 surefire signs. It's time to pull the trigger. Okay. So let's dive right in. I've written them down. Now listen, these aren't all inclusive signs. I mean, sometimes you're going to find a sign that's not on here that you're like, whatever. But let me give you number 1 so we can kind of get the vibe of how this is going to go down. Surefire sign number 1 that you should pull the trigger and end your relationship is you're waiting for a sign. Now, I know that sounds like, what? That sounds weird, but you know what I'm talking about. You might be in a relationship where you've had mounting evidence in your soul that it's time to move on, but you've had this conversation. Yeah, I feel like I should really be doing something else or someone else. And you know that, but the problem is you're still waiting for a sign from God. You pray about it. You're like, God, I know this relationship probably isn't the one for me, but could you just give me a sign? It's like that old story about the guy who's, drowning and he's praying to God and he's like, God, if you just get me out of this, just give me a sign. And a boat goes by and he's like, no, thanks, guys. It's flooding, right? He's like, no, thanks, guys. I'm waiting for a sign from God and the one I should take. And then a helicopter comes by and he's like, no, thanks. I'm waiting. The signs are all around us all the time, but we're waiting for the sign. You suspect somebody might be unfaithful in a relationship, but you're waiting to catch them in the bed. You walk in and you go, now I know. But you already know. You already know something's going on. So why don't we just follow our gut instinct and intuition is because it's in another sign. I'm going to get to that. But most of the time, in your gut what you should be doing in this relationship, but you don't pull the trigger because you allow the gut to travel to the head, right? And in the head is where all the confusion sets in because then your ego gets involved. And instead of going, hey, maybe just take cheating, for example. This person's cheating on me. It travels up to your ego and your ego goes, but why would they be cheating on me? Don't they know how great I am? Don't they know what I have to offer? I mean, how dare them cheat anyway? And they can't possibly be cheating if they really know what they were getting with me. They wouldn't cheat at all. And who do they think they are? And who is he? And who is she? And then you go on. And then you don't do anything because you're stuck in that place of, why is this happening to me? Instead of, oh shit, this is happening to me. Okay? So stop waiting on signs. That's number 1. You're waiting for a sign. Here it is. Move on. Okay? Number 2. You're waiting for someone to change so that you can be happy. Now, this can take all kinds of forms. The biggest advice I can give somebody is when people, and Maya Angelou gave it, I didn't give it. She's brilliant. I just steal her stuff sometimes. But she said, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. People are always showing you who they are, but we don't allow it to sink in because why? We don't want it to be so. So we love maybe most things about this person, except for that one blazing thing that you can't stand about them, that you just think if you hold out long enough, love enough, or in it enough, that they'll change. They ain't gonna change. I mean, people can change a little bit, but for the most part, people really are who they are. And so you might be saying, well, I'm in a relationship with somebody who uses drugs or alcohol. They can change. Yes, they can change, but drugs and alcohol, honey, weren't the problem. They were the solution. So when that person gets sober, some of that stuff's still going to be there, right? Some of their impatience and impulsiveness and all of those things about a person is still going to be there. So ask yourself, what are you waiting for it to change? I had a question the other day, can a narcissist change? Well, honey, no. I mean, people are the way that they are. And instead of waiting for somebody to change, ask yourself this one question. If that person were to never change, would I still want them? If the answer is no, if this person never changes, if they always stay the same, I'm not in it to win it, then get out, right? Move on. Life is too long to wait for people to change. So number one, waiting on a sign, stop waiting on your sign, here it is. Number two, waiting for people to change, you change, right? You can't change people, but you can change. And you can change what you're willing to accept or what you're willing to tolerate, which leads me to sign number three. You're constantly unhappy. Oh, wait, that's the other one I did. You know what you need to do, but you're settling. You're making excuses. You're just you keep on tolerating that bad behavior. So so you're waiting for a sign, you're waiting for somebody to change, or you know you deserve better, but you're staying in it, is number three. See, I'm kind of doing this as I go along. I like to talk off the cuff, so I don't want to be too prepared, but sometimes I start talking and I'm like, well, that's better. Let's do that one. So yes, you know you deserve better, but you're staying in it because you're settling. Now, likely if you're doing that, you're a person that grew up in a dysfunctional situation. Maybe you had a dysfunctional parent that you had to stay loyal to, even when loyalty wasn't deserved. Maybe you have a black belt in eating shit, and you could eat shit. You could win in a shit eating contest. You're really good at it. You're like, and you eat your shit, and you're like, does it taste bad? No, it's fine. Oh, is it gross in your mouth? No, it tastes pretty okay to me. I mean, or aren't you tired of eating shit? Well, you just do what you got to do. I mean, you put your big girl pants on and you keep eating the shit. And you and I both know it tastes terrible and you don't like it, but you're good at it. You know how to operate in chaos. You know how to operate in dysfunction. You know how to eat shit. And so because you do know, you do. And you don't have to. Just because you know how to struggle doesn't mean you should. Just because you know how to tolerate things from people and suck it up, buttercup, doesn't mean you should. So if you know you deserve better, but you're tolerating it because you think you're taking one for the team and only you can handle it the way that you can handle it, it's time to move on. Your days of proving yourself are long gone. You don't have anything to prove to anybody. So just, if you didn't have anything to prove, think about that for a minute. If you didn't have to prove how loyal you were or how tough you are or how persevering you are or how strong you are, and you didn't have anything to prove, and we already knew that about you, would you stay? Probably not. So number one, I got to start writing these down because I'm going to forget. You're waiting for a sign. Number two, you're waiting for somebody to change. Number three, you know that you deserve better, but you're staying because you can bear it. Number four, you're manipulating, strategizing, or trying to figure out your man or your situation so that you can make it tolerable. You can do this with a person, place, or a thing. You know it's time to end, like drinking, for example. You probably know, hey, maybe at one point in your life your drinking's getting out of hand, but you're starting to manipulate and strategize. Maybe if I just don't drink before I go out, maybe I'll just have just enough alcohol where I won't get so drunk, lose my shoes, and forget my name. You start to think those kinds of things, right? Or maybe if I just, pretend, don't answer his calls right away, like wait a couple hours, he'll get like the message and the hint and he'll get desperate, and you start playing these games and you're going back and forth. And so in your mind, you're consistently strategizing how to like make somebody into something you want or make a situation morph it into what you want. And so, and I like to call that with my clients that I work with, you're playing chess and the world is playing checkers. Like stop playing chess, stop overcomplicating things, making things a lot harder than they have to be. Just play some checkers. Just go, hey, 9 times out of 10, if you have to strategize, a lot of books are written on how to catch them and keep them, how to man whisper, how to strategize it and getting a man to commit to you. I'm gonna tell you a little secret. If you're strategizing in the beginning of how to get a man to commit to you, you're always going to be strategizing until the very end. So start with begin with the end in mind. How you begin is how you're going to end. So if you're manipulating and strategizing, it's probably not the right situation for you to be in. Life is not that hard, right? It is challenging sometimes in a relationship to be in and to weather the storms. And I talk a lot about that, and I talk about I'm trying to get my hair to go down, the lessons of the seasons, but I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about just strategizing in general of how to get somebody to commit to you or make things go according to plan. That's a big red flag. And then the last thing is, so let's do this again. Oh my God, can we do this together? So I'm not forgetting. You're waiting for somebody to change. You know you deserve better, but you're not pulling the trigger. You get it. Okay, I'm even forgetting what I'm talking about, because for me, I like to go in the flow. I know it seems a little like ADD and whatever, but I know what I'm telling you is right advice. Not only because, so I don't need to so I didn't write it down. Sometimes I just flow, because the reality is, a lot of this stuff, yes, sure, it came from my own life experience. I was in a really dysfunctional relationship and did all these things for over a decade. But since then, since I've been on my healing journey, I've helped thousands of people through, and I see these patterns over and over again. And so what I'm telling you is just the common denominator in all of us. But the last thing is probably the most important thing, and that is that you don't like who you are in this relationship. You don't like who you are, and you don't like who you've become. And that's enough of a reason. I remember when I was in a relationship that was really dysfunctional, and I became a person that I didn't want to be. Like, I wanted to be, easygoing and happy. But I found myself, like, back in those days, up all night long, searching through phone records, looking at the computer, Googling out the history, trying to figure out, put the pieces together. And when he would go away to work, I would start going through his stuff. I mean, I was a psychopath, and I blamed him at the time. Well, if he would just change, like what we talked about, if he would just change and be different, then this relationship would be better. If I could just strategize and get the right strategy, he'll change or whatever. And the reality was, no, he wasn't going to change. He is who he is. And I didn't like who I was inside of that situation. So no more settling. Just because you can tolerate and accept it doesn't mean that you should. And certainly if you don't like who you're being, that's a big red flag. It's a surefire sign it's time to go. So I know I've kind of been all over the place. I'm going to get these buttoned up, and I'm going to put them on the blog so that you can read them and go back to them and forward this to your friends. So go to lovecoachheidi.com, and I'm going to title it 5 Surefire Signs You Should Pull the Trigger and End Your Relationship, and you can find it over there. So in the meantime, hope this video was helpful for you. I love you so much. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you really soon. Okay, bye-bye.